Okay, we're back on the dashboard. What I'd like to show you is a different workflow for viewing the calendar, which is kind of like what you do for Shake Your Tail. So if we go to the calendar icon on the left here, and go to Facility Calendar, what we want to make sure before we do anything else, and this may only be an issue for us admins, but you want to make sure that for the location that you're currently seeing right now, so I'm seeing the CBB Elizabeth location, I want to show the Elizabeth CBB account, and that's basically linked to what Gingr calls the specialist. So the specialist for Elizabeth that we've defined is this Elizabeth CBB account, and so we want to show that specialist account, and that basically allows us to make any of the reservations that we want to make at Elizabeth. So if that shows something different, say, I guess we can't show Finleyville, so that's going to be Elizabeth. You can always click on this group button and it should bring the current location's specialist into view and show that calendar. This button just toggles between the no specialist needed and the defined specialist we have for this location. Let's always just not show that, so toggle that off so that it's red, so that we only see the specialist calendar. Okay, so at this point, if you're seeing this calendar and you see this big blue area, that means these are all time slots that can be made into appointments, an unlimited number of appointments for any time slot on this given day. So if this were Finleyville, on Tuesdays we'd be closed. You wouldn't see this blue box indicating that there's availabilities. So for Elizabeth though, starting at least tomorrow, Tuesdays will be free. So I configure this so that this Tuesday is also free, just for testing purposes tonight. So what I can do is, say I want to make a 11 o'clock appointment. So someone walks in and says, hey, it's 8 a.m. now, but I'm going to come back at 11 with my dog. So let's go ahead and make that appointment. So I clicked on the 11 a.m. and I'll just choose book a service here. And now we want to choose the service from the options below. So what we have here are essentially 5 different options. What we're going to use going forward are the various baths or the groom option. This appointment option is just for customers on the customer portal, so online, to book general appointments. They won't be able to specify through the customer portal whether they want a particular bath or a groom or additional services. So even though that's available here, let's not use that. So let's use one of the 4 base services, which is one of the 3 baths, or the groom. So just for example's sake, let's choose silver bath. So here we're choosing the service first. So let's book this appointment for this service. Now we need to tell this service who's coming. So here I can type, let's see what happens if I type my name. So as the customer who's coming in with a dog, so I'm the owner, I can search the owner's name to find all of their pets. Bam. Or, like I showed earlier, you can search by phone number. And as you start to get towards my phone number here, you'll see all of my pets that are available. Otherwise, if I know the pet's name offhand, so say I want to do Bert, but also, so for each animal that you choose, this pop-up window comes up and displays any icons associated with that animal. So previously, when I created this animal, I noted that it was a fighter. So you can set these icons as you make new pet profiles, and I'll show you how to do this later. But this is just for information, so if this pet is still a fighter, we'll say, thanks, keep the icon. But if we know that that pet is no longer mean to us or will fight us while we groom or bathe them, then we can say, got it, remove the icon for the future because they'll no longer be a fighter. So let's just say this one's always going to be a fighter. Thanks, keep icon. Okay, so what happens here is basic information about the animal comes up. So here's the breed, Rhodesian Ridgeback, weight, and age. So what happens here is that the duration for this particular service, which is a silver bath, is already set to be 90 minutes. If you know that this particular pet takes longer, then we can say, because he's a fighter, it takes 120 minutes to go through the entire silver bath process. And this should populate forward such that the next time that you do a silver bath for Bert, this duration of 120 minutes should be pre-populated. But just to be sure, so let's keep the duration originally at 90 here. We'll say that because Bert is a fighter, let's give him a 120-minute appointment. So this is notes essentially that the customer would be telling you. So maybe also Bert smells really bad. There's another place to record groomers' notes or employees' notes elsewhere, and these are the things that you might not want to disclose to the customer but are useful for you as the groomer or employee to ensure that you know everything about this dog. Okay, so the base price for a silver bath is $30, but given that this dog is a fighter and takes potentially longer, we may have to upcharge to some different amount. So for this particular pet, that would be $35. And this price would propagate forward in future appointments. So it would be $35 in the future. But just to cover our bases, we'll add that information later. So what we want to do here, if we have multiple pets, is go ahead and add from the same owner. So this all goes on the same ticket, if you will. Say we're also going to bring in Ernie. So I have Bert and Ernie. This one's also a fighter, so yeah, let's keep that icon. And you'll notice that we still have the Bert up here. And we can kind of minimize his information, and now I'll look at Ernie, and all that same information applies. And note again that the default duration and price is already set. This lodged together, you can ignore this because this is for daycare or boarding, which we don't do yet, so just ignore that. So notes we briefly went over. These are just general notes about the animal. The service notes are actually what you would want to put in here, particular to the service that's being done today. So the customer is asking for a silver bath for both of these pets. So for Ernie, at least, we want to say that for the silver bath today, let's just say ensure that Matt is cut down first before doing the bath. This may show my inexperience with grooming, but this is just a service note that is particular to the service being done, not necessarily a general note, which is Ernie likes to fight by kicking you in the teeth. So that's not particular to a service, that's particular to the animal. Okay, so we're going to ignore the deposit. That's something that we won't use until like daycare or boarding services, if we ever do that. So just ignore that. And you have two options down here, waitlist and confirm for customer. Never use waitlist because since we're a no appointment salon, we don't really have a waitlist. So you can just ignore that. We'll take all appointments all the time. I guess there are some times where we had to turn customers away, but that's not the norm, and we won't be doing waitlisting then. So just ignore waitlist altogether. Confirm for customer. So what this does is say that, okay, I'm setting this appointment. Is this appointment actually going to happen? And if this customer has just brought in their pet and they're dropping it off right now, you can just go ahead and confirm for customer. But if they're walking in and they're telling you, I'm coming back in 3 hours to drop off my pet, you're not 100% sure that's actually going to happen, so you don't want to confirm that just yet. You'll want to confirm when the pet is actually in your cognizance, so the pet is ready to be accepted into the salon. So assuming this was a customer that just walked in and is also dropping their pets off at the same time, we'll confirm that for customer. So that's kind of a nuance, but ultimately will show up on your dashboard in two different categories depending on whether you click on that confirm for customer or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this appointment for these two dogs. They're each getting silver baths. And you'll see here that once we've gone through all that, it kind of looks like we're back at the new appointment screen again, but it's telling us here that this reservation has been saved successfully. So we can click here to view that reservation, and we'll see that for Bert, we have all this information down here. This doesn't really mean anything to us, feeding report, medication report. This is all for daycare and boarding, and like I said, we don't do that yet. But you'll see here that we find the notes that we wrote earlier. So Bert's a fighter, he smells really bad. Okay. So for these services, we have a silver bath. And note I should have noted this earlier, but the number in front of the silver bath is just a way for us to keep the order of the bronze, silver, gold. If they were alphabetically in the correct order, then we wouldn't need these numbers in parentheses. But bronze, silver, gold, BSG does not go in alphabetical order. So we just decided to put a 1, 2, and 3 in front of them to make them show up in the correct order. So that's all that means here. But the 1 in parentheses up here means that one service is associated to this animal for this reservation. So we have a couple actions. This down arrow just kind of gives us more information. We didn't really put in any notes particular to this service for Bert. We did for Ernie, however, recall. And we can edit the service or delete the service. So we won't go into that right now, maybe later. So we can actually click the back button here. I guess not.